Today I wanted to do a lore and ending synopsis video. So for me, the endings in Shin Megami Tensei 5 follow a very specific formula. Whoever you side with will be killed before your eyes after you make the choice of who to follow in the final dungeon, after which you'll be forced to fight the other two groups of the Anabohino. For three of the endings, the Law, Chaos, and True Neutral ending, you will then face Lucifer. If you are working on the true ending, you will face all three versions of Lucifer from the endings that were not chosen. Keep in mind that Lucifer doesn't even bother fighting you in the bad neutral ending. In order to get the true ending, you must first beat the super boss, Shiva. I guess Vasuki wasn't kidding when he said that your reign wouldn't last long if you didn't tie up that particular loose end. Before I analyze the endings, I will try to flesh out the lore of what's happening far before we get there. I'll be assuming that the canonical ending of SMT 3 Nocturne is the true demon ending, and the reason I'm doing that for this analysis is because I really feel like SMT 5 is a direct sequel to that ending. My reasoning for that is that Lucifer convinces the Demi-Fiend to take on God's throne in that particular ending. Across the duration of SMT 5, you learn that God is dead or absent. You also learn that the world has been in its current form for 18 years. If you do the math there, which I conveniently did, 18 years ago is 2003, and that's when SMT 3 came out in Japan. SMT 5 very clearly mentions the conception, and at the very end of SMT 5 you can see what appears to be an immobile Kagatsushi. I do love in SMT 3, when you destroy the Kagatsushi, the moon cycle says dead. It's kind of a nice touch. Now here the moon cycle doesn't appear to be directly correlated with Kagatsushi, but I'll get into that a little bit more later. For me, further evidence can be suggested that this game is derivative from the True Demon ending, from the fact that the Demi-Fiend is a boss in this game if you purchased the DLC. Now, regardless of how you feel about DLC, I honestly believe that this DLC was not planned to be separate from the game, and that it was simply a money grab on the part of Sega/Atlas. Anyhow, I digress. In the opening credits, we learn that the creator, that we have had since the conception 18 years ago, didn't really want any competition. He separated the gods into entities that kind of long for each other. Basically, they're given a demon form and a human form. Most of the low-level demons that appear in the game appear to kind of operate off of a base level of intelligence and simply want to drain humans or other demons of their Magatsui, and it seems to be kind of more like a survival mechanism. Now, keep in mind that this is kind of a throwback to SMT 3, because in that game, obtaining large amounts of Magatsui was necessary for a catalyst or sacrifice in order to interject your reason into the world to change it. Now, it appears that in SMT 5, Lucifer succeeded against the prior creator, and not only that, but fused with them to become Anabohino. I feel that this essentially created a new order to the world. There's still a moon cycle, as there has been in most of the other SMT games. However, this time around we don't appear to need Magatsushi as a catalyst to interject our reason into the world. The requirement for doing that in SMT 5 is to get to the throne as a Anabohino. I thought this was extremely clever, as if you listen to the angels in the first place, the creation of a Anabohino is simply forbidden by this game's creator. Now, most of the game we follow an international organization known as Bethel. They're led by differing gods with differing ideologies, but are seemingly kept in line by the threat of the current creator. During the course of the game, when they find out that God is dead, all of them have a meeting to decide whether or not they should await God's return and uphold the existing order, or to attempt creation themselves. They talk about a concept called condemnation, which is part of the current creator's rule to keep the demons and humans separate so that they don't essentially ascend into a Anabohino. The current creator even goes so far as to have the current Tokyo residents living in what can only be described as a VR universe, as the reality of Tokyo is that it's the desert wasteland known as the Netherworld. However, as we go through the game, we learn that with God being dead, this illusion is slowly being dispelled and will eventually lead to demons being able to enter Tokyo. Being that many of the demons are operating on a base level of intelligence, it's heavily implied that this will cause most humans to die out, with the godlike demons desperately searching for their knowledge in the form of a human that's needed to ascend into the Anabohino form, so that they can take on the throne to interject their reason and preside over the new world as the new god and/or creator. What I love about that description is it implies God can be anyone who can meet those requirements. It kind of implies that there's no right or wrong other than the rule that said God imposes, wherein lies the gray area of the game that I grow to like so much over time. Now with that in mind, let's go through the endings in the order that they appear on my save screen. The first option is to side with the Archangel, aka now the fallen angel Abdiel, and her human partner, aka her knowledge in the form of Ichiro. Ichiro is what I would kind of call a tag-along friend in real life. He rarely has opinions of his own, and he simply wishes to be used as a tool to uphold the current reality. He cannot see other possibilities presented to him. He's literally wearing a sweater that says danger and a hat that says sucker for most of the game, so it kinda implies that he's a little bit of a dumbass. Eventually, it appears he grows a little bit of a spine near the end and discards the hat and decides that the new world he wants to live in is one in which there is only one God. I feel like the reason he does so is because he's simply too simple-minded to want to deal with a world governed by many warring gods. Regardless of who becomes the next god, he prefers their reign to be the absolute truth, and for me that implies that he has a general lack of wanting to think critically. Abdiel attempts to hold together the previous creator's world at all costs, and when she fails, she decides to relinquish her archangel status for more power by both becoming a fallen angel and then ascending into Anabohino. For me, the ramifications of following what is described as the law ideology in this game doesn't really resonate with me. A contradictory angel and a tag-along human with low intelligence remake the world, and for one, their order over said world is kind of a band-aid. For one, it keeps the demons and the humans apart. It keeps Tokyo an illusion. If the prior conception was able to only hold for 18 years, then I would say that this one certainly won't last as long. It certainly clarifies things from a religious or philosophical and ideological point of view, but how sustainable is it? For me, the cat is kind of out of the bag. God can and will die someday. Demons will acquire Magatsui and seek their other half to become a Anabohino. Said Anabohino will eventually be stronger than the current creator and throw the world into chaos by virtue of not wanting to keep this farce going any longer. So the next save bubble I can unlock is the bad neutral ending. For this ending, you choose to follow Yakumo. Yakumo is a former police officer with a jaded view on demons. He simply wants them all dead. He doesn't have a very favorable view of humans either. Now, the reason I find this ending kind of odd is because he's partnered with someone named Nua, who is a prior goddess and demon in this current world. I feel like the writers made them opposite gender and two entities that have fallen in love regardless of their ideologies, because that's really the only way that these two differing people could come together in any meaningful way. Now, I feel like Nua simply enjoys Yakumo's company and very subtly manipulates the character into seeing eye to eye with him on some level, but not fully. And when I say the character, I mean the main character. Now, Nua has her own intentions for the Anabohino if he is able to topple Shiva, and offers a slightly different ideology in that circumstance in the form of the true ending, and we'll get there a little bit later. I really find that the bad neutral ending, aka the destroying the throne ending, it's kind of hilarious. For me, it's like a fuck you ending. Without Yakumo alive to impose his destruction on the demons, the Anabohino basically just hangs out watching the chaos ensue, and just simply finds it amusing. It's obvious that the Anabohino isn't really a demon hater, as the ascension to that state requires a demon in the first place. With the illusion of Tokyo slowly fading and the Anabohino having done nothing to fix that problem, Tokyo will eventually find itself in whole in the Netherworld. This will lead to more Anabohino and a search to remake the world again. The destruction of the throne seems fruitless to me, as the mandala system seems to perpetuate itself outside of the will of its creator. Whether we accrue Magatsui and offer it as a sacrifice to Kagatsui, or ascend to Anabohino and take the throne, there's something beyond your individual world, if you're paying attention to the opening credits, because godlike entities somewhere off-planet are speculating what will become of this reality. The next save bubble I can unlock is the Chaos ending. Koshimizu is a demon, part of an ancient race called Amatsukami, which supposedly are some of Japan's oldest protectors. In previous SMT games, it kind of reminds me to the side quests where you can find the 4 guardians to summon Masakado, the protector of Japan. I was honestly surprised with them including said 4 guardians and the Lord Sword in the side quests that Masakado wasn't a summonable option here. It kind of felt like a missed opportunity for me. Anyhow, Koshimizu has a strong desire to protect Tokyo, but his means for doing so don't make a lot of sense to me. He will accomplish the task by allowing people to have their own choice to meet their demon counterpart and have lots of persons likely become Anabohino or gods all at once. While the choice is nice to have, Tokyo still descends into madness after losing its illusory miracle from the previous god. To me, this ending is the purest form of what the mandala system should be, just with a much quicker turnaround time. If everyone is allowed to become Anabohino and brawl for the throne, to me it would result in a war that would have existence remade in almost no time at all. It feels like the Power ending or Chiaki ending from SMT 3, Only the Strongest Will Survive. It almost draws parallels to our current reality, where we're ruled currently by 600-something billionaires and everyone else is kind of merely a cog in the machine meant to serve the higher purpose of our betters. This one also doesn't really suit my style. Anyhow, the 4th and final ending is the true neutral ending. In this ending, you choose to side with Nawa. You decide to remove all demons from this existence. Based on what we know about SMT's 5's universe, we seemingly stop the mandala cycle or pause it. However, as I mentioned before, the cycle appears to have some kind of outside influence which will perpetuate itself regardless of the will of the creator. Now, as I kind of said before, the prior creator attempted to stop more Anabohino from challenging them, which would slow or stop the system, and we already know that that currently has failed. I feel like in this ending we fail as well. In some kind of cruel joke, we retain our Anabohino form in a world built for humans. We're even spying on our own paradox human form. The throne still exists, and we still exist as a Anabohino. So what that means for me is that we can still change this world at any time. We may get bored of the pausing of the mandala system. This is where the game for me breaks the 4th wall, in a sense. No matter what ending I get, I can always select a new game plus and seek a new future as the player of the game. Perhaps the spectators in the opening are meant to reflect the different kinds of players that the game has, and it kind of becomes an interesting test to see what we will do as holders of a little bit more knowledge than the inhabitants of the game. I feel like it semi-reflects society in that way. Time marches on and context continues to change. Today's perfect world will feel antiquated to its inhabitants in the future. I feel like this game came out at the perfect time during this pandemic. We have many workers striking, and we don't want to hold up a few select billionaire gods anymore while we work for no time off and little to no benefits. I feel like we don't want to take on huge debts just to go to college anymore. And we don't want to believe in one pure truth or one religion that isn't our own. I feel like society is currently working to subvert that one truth that we're all supposed to abide by to make reality work for ourselves in some kind of individual way, even if they can't take a proverbial throne. For me, it kind of aligns a little bit more with Osamu in SMT3, where each person kind of has their own individual world, and I would kind of equate that to the consciousness in your own head. In conclusion, no matter which side you align with, I can see why. I can also find a way to disagree with it in some way. There isn't such a thing as perfection in the SMT universe. Power is simply accumulated, used as a weapon, and it's only for a select few to get what they want. But you better believe if the underlying society doesn't choose to believe in you or your creator status or godhood anymore, that you can be overthrown by some different new gods. So I kind of want to wrap the video up with one thing that I noticed, and that's the companion demon that you find in the beginning of the game seems to believe that you're her human partner, but she's unfortunately not able to bind with you because you've already bound to an artificial demon, which appears to be the brother of the Prime Minister in the game. So it's kind of interesting because one of the things I was thinking with the true ending is that what's to say that humans don't create a technology to create, you know, another kind of artificial demon that they can bind with to become a Anabohino and overthrow the current rule as well. So to me, it seems like regardless of the creator's attempts to prevent the mandala system from perpetuating itself, it will continue to do so whether they like it or not. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting, and we will see you next time.